Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today and Tarot with Melrose. This is the Tarot portion and the second half of my daily astrology reading, which you can find on my other channel, Astrology Today with Melrose. The idea behind the Tarot portion is to provide some further insight into ongoing and current energies based on the day's astrology and tarot influences. First, I'll discuss the tarot card that sits on the left-hand side of the page. Then I'll do a quick review of the day's astrology before I play another card that may give us something more to think about. So let's get into it. The tarot card that sits on the side of the page currently is the Ten of Swords, and the Ten of Swords relates directly in astrology to the last decan, or the third 10 days of the sun's transit in Gemini. So here we are in the last 2 days of the sun's transit in Gemini, and often the effects can be a little bit more intense at this time of the transit at the very end. So Gemini is an air sign. Swords are air of the tarot, and air has to do with our thoughts, our words, our plans, and kind of how we use them, right, to help or hinder things. The Ten of Swords here is, it's sort of an indication that somebody has used their thoughts and words and plans against you. So what you see here is a person sort of laying flat with 10 swords in their back. That's got to be a pretty deflated feeling, to say the least. And it really is a card that indicates a betrayal, a figurative backstabbing, okay? This feeling of defeat. And you may be thinking to yourself, Melanie, I feel like we've been talking about, betrayal and defeat and the words we use for months and months now. When are we going to talk about something a little more positive? Well, on Tuesday, the sun moves out of Gemini into Cancer, and when it does that, we'll move out of Swords into Cups, and we'll start over fresh with something new, which will be the Two of Cups, which will be a nice place to start from. So in the meantime, we're still dealing with this energy of backstabbing and betrayal. If anything, just to be able to reflect on what that feeling was like when we went through it, or, if we're going through it right now, to understand that this is, not an uncommon experience. It's common enough to come up in the 78 cards of the tarot. So, what do we know about this? This is a surprise, right? There's sort of a sudden disaster where, people are very unkind, either willingly or not. Maybe they used your own thoughts and words against you. But for you, it was unavoidable. You didn't see it coming, and you just kind of have to suffer the blow. Things beyond our control can leave us feeling victimized. And it's appropriate, I think, to acknowledge when somebody has mistreated us badly, for sure. But we also can't just sit and dwell in the feeling of being mistreated badly, right? There's got to be a point when, that's not working for us to move forward. This to me looks like we had a collaboration going with one person or maybe a number of people who, who took all of our best ideas and were friends with us while it was convenient for them. But it's like I said yesterday, kind of like when you rob the bank with your friends and then they decide to cut you out of the deal. Right? So everybody gets a little bit more. It has kind of that feeling, and you're the guy that got cut out. So we're the guy that got cut out in this situation. So not very fair, probably, probably not fair feeling, even if it was fair. Maybe we were being terrible human being, and so that's what we got. But in any case, it's the end of a cycle. You get to know who you can't trust, and if these are thoughts, words, and plans you used against yourself, and you've just found out that you can't trust yourself, well, there's your new beginning, okay? This is our chance to start over and to learn how to trust again, right? So, and not just to learn how to trust again, but also to make another collaborative and intellectual investment in something, even though the last one didn't work out for us. We still have to keep going forward and trying new things. And with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle some cards while I remind myself and the cards that the sun is in Gemini for a couple of more days now. We're right here close to the summer solstice, which happens on Tuesday. On the summer solstice, we have the longest day of the year. Solstice is one of the 8 holidays on the wheel of the year, and we celebrate it because it is the longest day. It's the sun's the sun's culminative peak of influence in the year. Okay, this is the sunniest, most expressive, most expressed life, outer life part of the year. Okay, so a lot of what we're doing has to do with the outer life. And, you know, Sun in Gemini understands that, and Mercury in Gemini, you know, makes it double. This is all a lot of sharing of ideas and information. It's thoughts, it's plans. It can be creative, intellectually, it can be playful, but it's very much a sharing and a using of data, information, knowledge, wisdom. Okay, and the other thing that's happening on the 21st is the sun is going to go into Cancer. So when Gemini comes to an end, we have this culmination point of the sun where we have the longest day of the year. I walked outside yesterday and the sun is not set yet after 9. So, you know, we have very long days this time of year. And then after that's when that sun culminates, that's when the sun also moves into Cancer. So, yeah, we're going to shift gears from air to water very soon. On the moon side of the page, the moon is a waxing gibbous. It'll be a 3rd quarter moon tomorrow, both in Pisces. Pisces moon is a time to sort of sit back and relax and reflect. And this is appropriate. This is a time kind of pause anyway, because we've just come off of our full moon celebration within the last week. And we've begun to sort of look back and review how it went. We've begun to sort of make our lists about what's got to go from here, right? Like what we can release and let go of because it no longer serves our purpose to meet our goals, right? The understanding the stuff that we would not like to have go the same next month, so we get rid of those things that took us there, right? It's appropriate time to pause also because of the sun's culmination, and it's sort of a celebratory time of year. So if you've got a celebration to get to this weekend, you know, this weekend or this week, I commend you to it. Please do. And then on the moon side of the page today, moon went square to Mercury early this morning. So, you know, that's our feelings and our ability to talk about what's on our mind and also talk about what's on our hearts, right? In a sort of challenged position where we might come across as a little bit disagreeable or cranky. So if you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning and something's making you cranky, you know, maybe have a little conversation with yourself about it. And then later this evening at 11:50, almost midnight, moon goes sextile to Uranus, and this is a time when we might actually be fun, like this cooperative. We're feeling cooperative with a different way of being. We're kind of looking at things from a different perspective at this time. Sometimes when we get like that, I know when I get like that, I get kind of just sort of punchy and I make a lot of jokes and, you know, sort of bounce around a little bit, and it's fun. So hopefully you can have fun with that. This really puts me in the mind of like a nightclub experience, but I know it's late Sunday night, so I don't know if that's the case for anybody. Moon, no, not moon. On the sun side of the page, the sun goes quincunx to Pluto today, which is one we don't talk about often, and it's really like this is our outer life, facing some yes or no change, right? We're facing some end and beginning, okay? Facing some total change. And it's really an opportunity, like there's going to be a moment possibly that comes up when you would handle something normally in one way, but that way is not working for you so well lately. So you pivot and you try a different way, and that works. Okay, so hopefully that's how it goes. But quincunx doesn't guarantee a good or bad outcome, so it's really kind of like how you handle that vibe when it comes up. So if you're dealing with something that's frustrating, and it's frustrating because the way you usually handle it is not working for you, then, you know, it's time to find a different way. In the ongoing column, Mars conjunct Chiron, today is the last day to get out there and shine. I mean, to me, I think you should just be yourself all the time, but then I am an Aries, and I'm a Mars in Aquarius as well. So I'm really about letting that, being an individual, really being myself and letting that freak flag fly. I encourage it every day of the year. But this has been an especially blessed time that says, look, we can actually even find some social healing for ourselves if we're just a little bold and we get out there and, you know, express ourselves more authentically than usual. Mercury trine Pluto, last day, and this has been here with us for over a month. Depth and clarity of understanding. Okay, our conscious mind has been in this blessed position with what's really going on the inside underneath with the transformational changes in our lives, okay? The endings and beginnings, we can see them coming. We can see the fears and insecurities that are coming up. We've been able to work with them with a lot of clarity. I think this energy will linger a little while since it's been with us for so long. But if you haven't taken advantage of it yet, please start to take advantage of it. This is a great aspect. I've done some really good journaling during this period. I've done some really good tarot reading where I could really see well what was going on, sort of the subtext of what was going on that helped me put the story together for people. And that was really special. So, you know, you get this blessing of insight. So look inside and work with what you've got there. Even your fears and insecurities, if you keep, what you resist persists. So if you keep pushing them down, they just keep coming back, right? Venus is sextile to Neptune and square to Saturn. And I'm putting this today in financial terms, okay? Money might be tight, or, you know, we might be struggling a little bit with our financial condition in some way. And it's leaving us feeling a little unsteady, a little unstable, right? But Venus is also sextile to Neptune right now, and this can put us in a really fantasy frame of mind in terms of what we want to receive, what we like, love, and can't get enough of. So, you know, I kind of perceive this as some opulent window shopping, you know, for shiny, glossy things that, you know, might be out of my reach, out of our reach at this point, but also might, you know, represent good goals to set for ourselves so that we know what we feel like it would take to feel supported and like all of our resources were going well. And then Sun is trine to Saturn right now and square with Neptune. So Sun trine with Saturn says all this stuff that you're working on in this outer life, all this expressed life stuff, all this Sun stuff you've been working on, you know, work, social and civic stuff, whatever efforts you put into it at this time, they're really blessed. That trine energy is a blessing of sort of benevolence from on high, which means that the efforts you put in are going to carry more weight. They're going to have more of a positive effect in our lives than we even know. And then Sun square Neptune, though, says, yeah, I might not feel very motivated, right? It can drag us down. Neptune is sort of confusing in a square aspect. It can be sort of gray and murky. It can be hard to tell which way we're going. It can be hard to move around like you're in deep water, right? So, you know, we may be feeling that demotivation, especially with this Sun and Pluto aspect coming in today with the quincunx, because this can feel like, you know, I tried to do something the way I normally do it, and it came back to me undone, right? So then you feel like your power has been taken away from you, right? So there's a moment here where we might feel like our power has been taken away from us, and a moment here that's really demotivating. But the Sun trine Saturn says, you know, still your efforts are blessed. So persist, okay? Persist. Pluto in retrograde, all those beginnings and endings happening on the inside right now, paying attention to what's coming up in terms of our fears and insecurities, especially when it comes to our sense of stability, our sense of being supported. And Saturn retrograde right now in Aquarius, you know, also asking us to face some stuff on the inside in our hearts and minds that has to do with stuff that we lean on socially, or stuff that we socially, especially because it's in Aquarius right now, stuff that we lean on that, you know, in leaning on it, it's somehow to the detriment of another person, right? Like, so, you know, if I'm paying for something that I know, you know, gets dug up by a slave in Africa, then I probably don't want that thing, right? I don't want to get a benefit off of something that, you know, that strips the value out of another person's life. That's kind of the questions that we're asking right now with Saturn retrograde is, you know, those things that I rely on for support, those attitudes, those thoughts, those ideas, those dispositions. And also, I've noticed that sometimes we lean on ignorance of certain things, right? Like if I just don't ask about it, then perhaps I won't get bad news and I can have this thing that I know is probably stripped the value away from somebody else's life, or, you know, what I should say is, you know, contributed to somebody else's impoverishment or, you know, dispossession in some way. So we don't want to be supported on the back of dispossessed people. We don't want to be supported on the backs of people that we are also impoverishing. So we have to have some more responsible practices when it comes to what we think it takes for us to feel supported and safe. And that was a mouthful. So, well, that one jumped to the floor. Here's one. Oh, wow. Huh. I'm going to show you both of these. Nine of Pentacles was on top and it went to the floor, so I turned over the Nine of Swords. End of a cycle here, friends. Okay, so which way do you want to be facing when you stand up from tending your wounds? Do you want to be facing in the direction of this person who has done a lot of work and put a lot of physical labor into something that would bring value to them, and now they are able to enjoy the fruits of their labor? Or do we want to go in the direction of somebody who feels helpless and, you know, hopeless and anxious and full of mental anguish because they're stuck in that negative loop of thinking about the terrible thing that happened? Two ways to go, all right? And I love that it goes from 10 to 9 in both cases, because it's almost like, okay, that was a surprise. I got stabbed in the back. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to step back for a minute, right? From 10 to 9. Like reset my trajectory and then move forward. Okay, so it is the end of a cycle. We have choices at the end of the cycle, okay? It is really a point of choice, in fact. And the question is, you know, something very negative has just happened. So are we going to move forward, you know, still dealing with the pain of that negativity, which for a while we have to deal with the pain of our wounds, right? But are we going to take a negative, helpless feeling approach, or we're going to take a positive, I can work this out and enjoy the fruits of my labor anyway sort of approach? That seemed pretty obvious to me there. Let's see. Avoid disagreements. And maybe later on we can actually be some fun. Definitely get out there and shine. But I also see the depth and clarity of understanding here, right? That communication here, this person seems to almost be in communication with the bird that they have with them. So, you know, that's like the conscious mind and the feeling self, or not even the feeling self, like the more deeply intuitive self, being in a positive condition with one another where you can sort of communicate with one another and share the fruits of the work you have done. Yeah. And Sun square Neptune can have us thinking Nine of Pentacles. Venus square Saturn can have us thinking Nine of Swords, okay? You know, this feels like insecurity. This feels like a fantasy. But then this feels like it might be good to fantasize a little bit And this feels like the labor will be rewarded. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I sure do appreciate you showing up for me here. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today and Tarot.